And a lot of times I talk to the person as well. And sometimes if the answer is no, I won't be doing anything. But if the answer is yes and that person's ready to move forward in their life, then I have that. I've been given different tools to clear the aura, or many times what people have amongst them are what's called cords. And that can look like a rope or a thin piece of line. And this is getting a little bit away from the aura, but to me it's just all part of the energy that I see or perceive. And I've had people come to me and say, can you remove this? And I'll be told, well, I'll hear something like, well, you have to come and talk, you have to see me for 3 times. And they say, well, no, I just want you to handle it all at once. But that's not, so I trust, and because I trust implicitly the messages I receive, I go with it in the moment. And if they don't want to do that, I just go, okay, it doesn't serve to work with me. Maybe you can find someone else who can do that for you. So these gifts that I've had they keep growing and expanding. And I'm just grateful that I have these gifts, and I just use them to serve the light.
Hi there, my name is Gina Otto, and I don't see auras at all. But I work with this idea of being the light. And so I became a girls advocate and traveled all over the world and made a commitment to go into the darkest places. And that commitment took me into the war zones in Sri Lanka, took me into the orphanages of the tsunami, into the human trafficking shelters in Cambodia, and the birthing centers in Malawi, and then all over the US and the poorest schools. And no matter where I would go in the world, I would talk to children. And it wasn't this idea of seeing the light, and it wasn't this idea of understanding the light, it was this idea of being the light. And all of the ways that we disconnect from being the light. And whatever those stories are, those stories that begin usually in childhood, and every time we disconnect from ourselves, every time we hide a piece of ourselves, every time we take a story that we are given from our parents and our teachers and our friends and our government and all the authority figures, and we make that story more important than being the light. And so we all have that, and as we grow up, we go to conferences like this, and we sit in rooms like this, and we go to therapy, and we do all of this. And what I've heard throughout all of my life and all of these conversations around the world is, oh, if only I would have known that as a child. All of these years I've spent trying to reconnect with that essence that I knew when I was a child. And so I wrote a children's book called Cassandra's Angel. And it's about a little girl who is the light. And every time she turns around, she is hearing that there is something wrong with her. And she hears, you're a mess, you're too different, you're incorrigible, we have no time for you. And just like all of us, every time she hears one of those stories, a little bit of her light goes out. Until finally she is sitting in darkness. And she says, either I am all of those things that they believe about me, and if that is the true, I might as well disappear. I might as well disappear completely, or I might as well disappear into the faceless crowd, into the conformity, into that place where I will belong because they said it's okay. Or I am who I know that I am. And in the moment of the I am, that part of her that has no stories comes to her and says, it's never been the truth. It has never been the truth. Everyone has an opinion. And they believe the stories that they were given, and they were given, and they were given. And those old kinds of stories create guilt and fear. But today, Cassandra, those old stories stop here. You can love people more. And when you find that love and you find that truth, you light up the world. And so I took that little fairy tale as it became a #1 bestseller, and I traveled all around the world with it. And I would share it, no matter where I went, into those darkest places. And I would stand behind the kids, and I would pull them up in front, and I would speak to the audiences. And I would say, this is your moment. This is your moment to decide. Are you the story of poverty and war and genocide and trafficking and never being good enough and never feeling right and never feeling a part of and always on the outside looking in? Or are you perhaps the bright light who came here to shine for the world? And no matter where I went, in every country, in every language, every little hand shot up and said, "I'm the light, Misato, I'm the light." And I'd say, then mean it. Take one action to change the world for the better. No matter how desolate your circumstances are, no matter how awful you feel in this moment, do something meaningful for someone else. Because that is how we change the world. And when I got back to New York, I had thousands and thousands and thousands of letters and emails and essays and posters of all of these children changing the world. And so it has been a simple invitation as I have traveled to simply close our eyes, which I will ask you to do, as I ask every 5-year-old and 6-year-old and 8-year-old. Put your feet on the floor. Put your hands on your heart. And with your eyes closed, just journey into that heart space and allow that light to come on. And imagine when you were 5, and you were 8, and you were 10, and you were 15 and 25, and today, each and every one of those stories that disconnected you from that truth. And let them go. Because there is no story out there more important, more true, more relevant than that light. It's who you've always been. It's who you are. It's who you'll always be. And from that light, from that heart center, we truly can change the world. Thank you very much.
Hello. How are you guys? My introduction to Aura personalities came through Stacy. What is so beautiful about what you just talked about is I was that little girl living in my darkness, not understanding that my light was a light. I thought it was this difference that made me unacceptable or in some way unwelcomed. I too have a very porous energy, but I see color around people. I see angels. I see a lot. There's a lot that just comes, and I don't know how it comes or why, but it's there and it's real. And when I was young, I thought everyone could do this. I thought I was just like all of you, and that we were all seeing the same things. And so as I began to share what I saw, there was this thing that made me different, and it wasn't so welcomed. And so I shut that down. I conformed. And I spent several years being very unhappy because my soul was trying to speak to me. It was trying to wake me back up to say, you need to step back into this. Step back into what you know. Start sharing what you know with the world. And I was afraid. I was afraid for a long time. Being empathic, when I walk into a room, I feel you very clearly. I may feel that so-and-so just had a conversation with a business associate and that didn't go so well, so there's this like heavy, dense kind of energy. I'll feel that. And for a long time, I would misinterpret that to mean that somehow it was about me. But it has nothing to do with me. It's about them. And so learning about my specific light helped me to, first of all, accept and understand myself so then I could step forward into those gifts and then really make them a part of my journey. And I can share them in a new and different way where there's joy behind it and not fear. And I think the beauty of understanding what your aura is that you can do just that. Understanding yourself better, understanding each other better, and then understanding how to talk to each other. Because I know that a crystal like Stacy is very present in the moment. She's really taking in everything around me. And I'm a lavender. That's my first color. And so I'm kind of all over the place. I'm in my head quite a lot, and I'll shift in and out of energy, and it's harder for me to stay focused. And she's very present, and so she knows that, oh, she just shifted. She's thinking of something else. So it's easier for her to understand me, but it's also easier for me to understand me, so that I'm trying to be more present for people when they're speaking to me. It's not a choice. It's just me. It's just who I am and how I am. And when you can stop judging yourself and learn to accept yourself, aura personalities or your light can really shine brighter. And I think that's the message that I would like to leave with you, is that understanding you is the greatest gift you can give to this world. Embracing yourself and who you are in your full glory, your full color. And then move forward in that and accepting everybody else's color as well, because we're all gifts. We all have these beautiful and amazing qualities that are all contributions. And that is truly why I think it's been one of the best experiences of my life, is to be able to share what I see and what I've learned about myself with others, because as I step forward into my self-acceptance, it creates that same opportunity for someone else. So I invite you all to step into your full light and join me.
Do we have time for questions? Yeah. Okay. Is it wrong for me to put, so if you want to find my book, it's just on Amazon. You can get the ebook, and it's just called Aura Personalities. And if you type in Aura Personalities, it's the only thing that'll come up. And then your book's name is Cassandra's Angel. And I just can't wait to read it to my son. I can't wait. There is so much we can be contributing to helping each other wake up to who we are and come into an acceptance about it. And I actually would really like to invite another challenge for you. That person in your life that you probably really love and does something that's really hurtful to you or really frustrating for you, I would like you to step into a different thought about them and consider that maybe there's a really beautiful gift behind that trait that is so hard about them for you. And practice compassion there and see it differently, okay? And then do the same thing for yourself. That thing that's the hardest about you, for you, consider